Alright everybody, I'm going to show you a small modification I made to these ScaleTrains brand Operator Series refrigerated containers. This is HO scale, and this is a model of a 53-foot intermodal container that has a refrigeration unit on the end here to keep the contents in real life. The prototype keep the contents at a particular temperature, primarily for like perishable food type items, and this way they can be transloaded off of barges to trains to semi-trucks and ultimately to deliver the contents to wherever it is they need to go. I've talked to ScaleTrains about my small modification, and it's something they took note of, but wanted to show you how I do this modification. That way if you want to do this to yours, you can. It's just a small improvement that I thought was, added a bit of pizzazz to the model, and we'll just get started and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Here's one that I've already done. This is my container here. So CR England is the printing on the side there. And I work at a food warehouse where we actually get these actual containers in real life, so this is one reason why I noticed this detail popped out to me that maybe it didn't to most people. And this detail is actually, I'll just turn it on and show you here. So when the reefer unit is running, this is a sound reefer. There's a sound module inside, and I'll show you that here in just a second. When that sound unit is running, you hear the noise of the refrigeration motor running just as it would in real life. The prototype reefer units here, on the end of the body, there's a status light on the prototype that shows whether the engine is operational or if it needs some type of maintenance or other attention given to it. And this status light is, varies by color based on the motor unit being used. And so we get these at work all the time. And I thought, well, it'd be really neat to have that status light on here. And since the sound module is already in there and it's battery operated, I just took the liberty of drilling a hole and adding a small LED, a colored LED, and I'll just go ahead and turn this on here and let you see what I'm talking about here. So there we have the sound unit turning on, and you can probably see, maybe, yeah, right here, we have this green LED status light. When we run the railroad, our model railroad at night, turning all the layout room lights off, this really stands out, and just adds an extra level of detail to these already finely detailed models from ScaleTrains. Several of the guys in my group expressed interest in having me modify theirs, so that's what I'm going to show you in this other model here. And I made mine green. Yellow and white are also acceptable colors. In the case of the model that I'll do here, I'll do another green one, and I'll show you the yellow one that I did for another member in our group here in just a second. So I'll get started and show you the inside guts of that. The other benefit that has is the sound module goes through a loop. After a minute or two, the sound will appear to turn off, showing that the motor is cycling on and off like it would in the prototype. Then at that time, there's no noise coming from this. It'd be real easy to turn the railroad off, walk away for the night, and not realize you left the battery on and the sound module on, where you'd run your battery dead. So this light stays on all the time as long as that switch is on. So it's a visual indicator. If the container is even all the way at the other side of the room, if you can see it, that is, you'd have a good indication. Oh, don't forget to turn the light or the battery off on your sound container. So I'll just go ahead and turn that off there. We'll go in to the inside, and I'll show you how I modified this one, and then we'll do the next one step by step. So the top pops off real easy. And what we have here is the soundboard, the speaker here, and then the battery here. Real simple. Let's see, hopefully I can zoom in on there. Right by this this black chip right here on the board, you see these gold circles right down here. Hopefully I'm getting that in the video well enough. One, you can see the plus sign next to it. See that right there? And then the other three. And those are, I had to get a multimeter out to figure out that The plus and one of those other pads only has power to it when the switch is on. And the power was about 5 or 6 volts. I don't remember off the top of my head right now. 5 or 6 volts, so I had to use a few different ways to find a resistor that worked. So we have right here, we have this resistor that I put in line so that I didn't burn out the LED. Very just small decoder wire actually is what I had laying around, so that's the kind of wire that I used. One goes to plus. Sorry about that. One goes to plus, one goes to the other pad here, soldered on. Be very, very, very careful not to use so much solder that you bridge any of those contacts. So very, very small amount of solder. A little goes a long way. Don't get anywhere close to the black computer chip you see on the board right there. Then if we turn it over this way, hopefully the focus is working right there. There we go. Now the LED I used is not actually that small. I drilled a very, very small pilot hole, and whenever I glued on the resistor, glued on the LED to the inside of the body, the LED itself is actually a lot bigger than this hole here. So the CA or super glue that I used is like a gel type super glue. It basically kind of oozed out of that small pilot hole that I drilled, almost like a light pipe. So it carries the light right on out and makes it look like it's just a very small small indicator that you would even find in the prototype there. So on this end, the LED that I'm using actually is the green LED from an Oregon Rail Supply HO Scale signal kit. I don't use their LEDs when I build the signals, so I have an abundance of these size LEDs left over, and that's why I have green, yellow, and red, although I've never personally seen red in a container unit like this in the real life. So these LEDs are, I think, 1.8 millimeters square. Obviously you have one connection is the positive anode, the other connection is the cathode, and you want to make sure that you match the polarity of this LED up correctly to your circuit board. So generally what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder on these lead wires, including this resistor here, first, and then strip the wires bare on this end of the wires and use some alligator clips or whatever I need to do to check and see which polarity the LED needs to wire up to that. When I'm all said and done with, it doesn't look like it, but I actually put a clear nail polish varnish on this to kind of insulate it, to keep it from shorting out anywhere. I could have used shrink tubing. I think that would have been a little bit too big, as small as these wires and leads are. The nail polish, the clear nail polish, does a fine job of kind of acting like a varnish like it would on magnet wire. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'll get this other one out of the package and we'll start drilling some holes and going to town on that. Okay, I'm going to start by soldering one of these leads onto the resistor right here. Okay, and the resistor I'm using is actually 150 ohm, I believe, probably a quarter watt. The wattage doesn't really matter. You're just messing with, the only thing you're really drawing on this is going to be the LED, and the LED really doesn't draw anything. So just whatever you've got laying around. I had to experiment to find 150 ohm was about the right impedance that I needed, resistance I needed to get from the voltage that was coming off of those pads to what I thought the LED looked acceptable. I've been running the one that I did on my container Reefer, at least one operating session so far. It's held up pretty well. So we've got that end soldered onto there. I'm going to take the resistor, let's see right there. Okay, I'm going to get the resistor and I'm going to solder that on to one pad or the other. I don't believe it really matters. Again, we're not using a lot of electricity here. Use as fine of a tip of a soldering iron that you can, and if you've got steady hands, that helps too. See if I can. that soldered onto there. Then we're going to solder this other wire onto one of the other 3 pads. I'm just going to use this one next to the marking J1. With these smaller wires, it may just be better to put some solder on the pad first. Okay, and then come back. That way you've got your hand free. Come back and put the wire in after you get the solder in place. Okay, so that end of the soldering's done. Alright, I got the leads soldered on the board. I've got the other end of the wire stripped here. So I'm going to get my LED. Actually, I'm going to put the battery back in. Turn the switch on. And I'm going to have to touch each wire to the LED to see if I can get it to light up. Yep. So there we can see the LEDs. The LED's lighting up. So we know that the one I bend is going to purple. That's how I mark it. Bend one, it's going to go to one color. Keep the other lead straight, and it's going to go to the other color. So the bend is going to purple, the straight's going to black. And I will go ahead and turn the sound unit back off again. Take the battery back out. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap these wires around these leads and get those soldered on. Alright, so now that the, and we can test that again by putting the battery back in. Turning the unit back on again. And there it is. Light comes on and off with the switch. That's simple enough. Okay, next step, we need to drill the hole in the, in the body. I'll show you on my original here. Okay. So the hole that's going to be on the inside is going to be slightly bigger than the pilot hole that comes all the way through. So the pilot hole is just going to be a very small, probably number 56, 54 maybe. Not very big at all. And that just basically allows it to fill up with that thick gel glue, super glue that's going to actually glue the LED in anyways. 59, that's what that says, 59 on the drill bit, and I'll just go ahead and drill that. You see about where I put mine on there. It's really hard to see. There we go, that's a little bit better. You can see about where I put mine on there right there. Refer to prototype photos, and that will help you determine what location you need to put yours in. Mainly I chose that so that it was easy to to keep it as close to the reefer unit on the outside as possible, yet still allowing there to be room for the LED to fit on the inside. So this one, flip around this way, maybe it'll be a little bit better for you. So I'm going to drill this right about, let's see, let's go do this. Right about here. Okay, so we have our hole drilled right there. Okay, we've got our hole drilled right there, and then we'll go back to the inside of it. Right here we can, going back to the inside, you can see it right there, and we'll take a bigger drill bit and just barely kind of notch out a space for the LED. Okay, that's pretty good. So we can see we enlarged the hole on this end, yet retaining the smaller hole on this end, and that'll allow that LED to slip right in there. There we go. That's a pretty good way. So I'm going to get some super glue, and I'm going to glue that on in there, and then I'll show you the next step. So the super glue that I'm using, Loctite gel, I think that works a little bit better for this particular project. I'm going to squirt it from the inside. And I'm going to get ready to put that in there, but I'm just going to go on to the next step. This other part that I use is liquid electrical tape, and I like it because it kind of has a sticky consistency to it, and I'm able to kind of goop that in place, and that'll really hold it with the super glue. So I'm going to stick the LED in the hole. And while that's setting up, take some of this goop, and that'll sort of hold the wires in place. Okay, there you have it. Stuck the wires on the side with some of that liquid electrical tape. That'll hold kind of everything in place so the stress isn't put just on the LED. The LED will be held into its socket with the super glue, and the super glue, I don't know if you can see it, but it did actually ooze out. You can kind of sort of see it there. There we go. Yeah, you can see the super glue oozed out and kind of made a little bit of a light pipe. So actually when we turn this on, it'll light up straight away. There we go. Just like that. We'll put all this back together once the electrical tape sets up like it's supposed to. And this thing will be ready to be in service on the railroad, helping nighttime ops, lighting up the railroad in different ways. Okay, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and see if I can put some other model railroad and prototype railroad related videos on here in the future. And who knows what I'll be able to come up with next time. Thanks for watching and have a good day.